Here's something you should know about nerd fonts. So if we look at the bar over here, it seems a bit small, but the icons are properly spaced, right? So next to this Wi-Fi network name that I have over here, there is a Wi-Fi icon, which is appropriately spaced, along with all of these other icons. Now, the way, or rather the reason why actually that is because of choosing the correct font. Now, I used to struggle with this problem long ago when what I used to happen was I chose the wrong font for my bar. And so because of that, I had to mess around with the spacing and do all sorts of weird shenanigans just to get the icons to line up in the modules properly. Now, in order to not have that problem from occurring, I will show you exactly the font that is you're supposed to use. So let me open Waybar, right? So config Waybar style.css, and here we are. So basically, this is the font that we're using. No, or rather, note, the font we're using is actually a nerd font because these are nerd font icons. So if you wanted to get these icons, all you do is just go over to nerdfonts.com/cheat sheet. Okay, we can actually just click the link over here and then go to the cheat sheet, but cheat sheet. And then we look for the icons. Let's say a battery. Yeah, we get all these battery icons. So these are nerd font icons, which is why we're going to require a nerd font in order to display them. Now here's the catch. There are a couple of different kinds of nerd fonts. Okay, so we have the regular nerd fonts. Okay, we have the regular ones. Like for example, that would be something like JetBrains Mono Nerd Font, or something like Geist Mono Nerd Font. Like for example, Geist Mono is the one that I'm using for my terminal over here. Okay, so those are regular nerd fonts. Then apart from that, we have mono nerd fonts, right? We have a mono variant, which is going to be JetBrains Mono Nerd Font Mono, and then same thing for Geist Mono as well. And then we have a propo variant, which is going to be JetBrains Mono Nerd Font Propo. Now, what is this actually about? The regular variant basically is just going to be a normal font without any of the changes that are made in mono and propo, right? So you're not going to get any weird sort of effects, but the only effect that you're going to see is, let's say I remove this, okay? It's best to just show you. So let's say I remove this propo over here, and then I write the changes. I reload Waybar, and the icons have shifted a bit closer to the name, and in the notification icon and the power profiles daemon icon, as you can see over here, it's shifted a bit and it's offset and it looks ugly. So once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's that kind of a thing. And so in order to fix that, we actually use the propo variant of the font. Okay, I will get to mono in just a second, but propo basically stands for proportional. So this is the font that we're used to use, right, that we're supposed to use in proportional contexts. Now, what does that mean? So what we have right here, Waybar, for example, is in a proportional context because the font that we're using is SF Pro Display, which is a sans serif font, right? And by the way, just to let you know, sans actually means without. So serif is a font variant, right? You know those fancy text that you see in books, like in textbooks and in basically old school books that pretty much have mostly that font, right? That font is called serif, the kind of style. Okay, and the fonts that we have in the terminal are called monospaced fonts because each of the letters are perfectly spaced, like they're perfectly aligned, unlike sans serif and serif fonts. Like let's say for example, I open vscode or something, okay, and then I go and change the font to something like SF Pro Display, what you're seeing over here. It would just look wrong for code because you're not supposed to scan code with your eyes in that way. It doesn't make it easy and it just looks weird as hell. Okay, so that's about sans serif fonts and monospaced fonts, which are in the terminal. Okay, now getting back to why we used propo. Basically, using propo in this line over here, okay, basically lets the system know, you're letting Waybar know that this is the font to use. Now, why should you actually use this font? Because it has certain settings inside of it which make it so that icon spacing is proper and not messed up. So you'll get to know as soon as I write the changes and I reload the bar, the spacing has become proper and there are no issues with it. Everything looks good. There are no need for excessive spacing, like you don't have to go to the modules label, for example, and then add in a couple of extra spaces because it was messed up over here. You don't have to do any of that. And that is that for proper. Next thing, last thing is going to be about mono, right? Mono is basically going to be your monospaced fonts that you use in the terminal. So let's say you're not going to use this font, JetBrains Mono Nerd font, in any other context except a proportional context, which is pretty much 9 times out of 10 only going to be your terminal, because you're not going to display any sans set of text in your terminal at all. So in that case, you would use a mono font. Now, what the mono font practically does inside of a terminal is it reduces the size of the icons. So you see neovim's icons that I have right over here. Okay, so I have the size of the icons look like this, right? Let me just show you the configuration that I have set up for my terminal, which is kitty.conf. And by the way, if you're wondering what that colors folder is about, it's basically related to a theme switcher. So if I just show you that theme switcher, right, I can change the color scheme to whatever I want, and it's pretty much just going to adapt the rest of my system to those colors. And there are actually way more themes than this. I had to reduce the number of themes just so I could fit into this menu, but I created like 9 themes. Anyway, if you want to know how to make something like this, there's a link in the description that you can click. I suggest that you go ahead and click it right now, because trust me, it'll be the best investment that you have ever made. The amount of time it's going to save you and the amount of sheer stuff that's in there, it's going to blow your mind. So just click the first link in the description right now and check out the program. I teach you exactly how to make theme switchers like this one, like the one that I just showed you, and a lot more. How to think about your dot files, how to manage them, how to actually go about configuring and setting up and maintaining your setup. Oh man, there is a lot there. So just go and click the first link in the description and check it out right now. You can come back to this video later, but trust me, boy oh boy, are you going to like the program. Okay, now getting back to kitty.conf, right? Here we are. And yeah, the font family that I'm using right here is Geist Mono Nerd font. Let me change that to Nerd font Mono, and let me show you what that looks like. So if I have this right, the icons are going to get much smaller. So let's just get rid of this. Okay. Press Ctrl Shift F5 to reload a kitty window, by the way. That's going to send the SIG-USR1 signal to kitty, which basically causes it to reload. And by the way, if you want to know how to use this SIG-USR1 signal, like practically, that would be pkill-SIG-USR1 kitty, or you would get the PID with something like pgrep kitty. Right, what's this talking about? Yeah, basically, this is sort of the syntax that you're going to use, right? You give pkill this signal, and then you give kitty's PID. You can get to know kitty's PID with ps-aux grep kitty. Okay, so it's one of these, yeah, one of these ones, this one or this one. If you want to reload both of them, all we would do is just copy each of these PIDs, PIDs, and then we would paste it in over here. So pkill-SIG-USR1, paste that in, and it will kill it and reload. So let's say now I open neovim, and as you can see, the icons have gotten much smaller compared to before. So for a side-by-side comparison, I'm just going to remove this mono thing and then launch a new terminal and then show you the icons. Right, as you can see over here, the icon size has drastically reduced when you are using a mono variant of a nerd font. And that's pretty much it about nerd fonts. Hopefully you found it helpful, because it is a nightmare to unsee something once you have already seen it. And yes, to know more about customizing Hyprland the way exactly that you want it, and to know how to make beautiful, gorgeous theme switchers like this one with pretty much zero maintenance and just pure bliss, just click the first link in the description right now, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be the best investment you'll have ever made in your life. And not to mention, it also has live theme I can say it right, theme reloading for the terminal as well. So let me just show you that. Okay, then change the theme. Voila. How amazing is that? Being able to choose whatever theme that you want and having everything switch accordingly. Beautiful. Click the first link in the description right now, and I will see you next time.